Welcome to Hilarity by Default's weekly Brisco County Jr. review, starring the insane chin of Bruce Campbell. When Socrates is mysteriously kidnapped during a birthday party, Brisco and Bowler track him down to a strange town where, with the help of one bad luck Betty, they discover a psychotic killer on the loose. Brisco County Jr. goes psycho in Bad Luck Betty, an Alfred Hitchcock-inspired dalliance that features scary shower scenes, foot fetishists, Whip Morgan, and no, they're not the same, or are they? And a twist so blatant you can see it coming from 7 episodes ago. Kyle, how did you feel about Bad Luck Betty?
Apparently a lot better about it than you did. No, listen, man, I had a lot of fun with this episode, and knowing. See, here's the thing: the common, the common viewer at this point wouldn't necessarily know that this was the next to last episode, because of course when it originally aired, the final episode will be a 2-parter. But what I'm getting to, Demos, is the people watching this show wouldn't have necessarily known that the show was at the end of its drop. And seeing what I saw in the previous episode, this is a good gap episode. I like what was going on there, and there were a lot of cool things that I enjoyed. The psycho drop, I texted you, dude. I laughed my entire ass off at that particular scene.
You have to be a little bit more specific, because the entire episode is psycho drops for the audience.
I mean, listen, it's Brisco County's Junior's episode, or answer to high anxiety. Finally, an opportunity for me to reference that movie without getting a name wrong. Thorndike, bitch. Anyways, listen, no, I had a lot of fun with it, and the whole Bad Luck Betty character, though, while she was pretty one note and pretty predictable, and say what you would about the plot, I had fun with it. Sure, it's not the Riverboat episode, but I mean, I really enjoyed it.
I will say, you're referring to the shower scene, and as far as twists go on, I mean, it's one of the most parodied film scenes in history.
Sure.
And as far as the parody that they take here, I thought it was pretty well, should I say, executed. Haha. Anyway, what I did find funny was Brisco's first encounter with the shower and him saying, "The coming thing."
Now this is the coming thing.
He finally found the coming thing.
Yeah,
a hot shower. Not a coming thing, the coming thing.
I loved it. I loved that. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. I forgot to. And what did they call it again? A rain bath or
yeah, something like that.
The way they named it was very creative. And listen, and not to mention the way they transition into the scene is seamless. He and Bowler are gonna charge for the bathroom, and then of course Bowler gives his famous. Listen,
and Brisco actually makes fun of it for the first time. That actually worked. I actually have it on the list. That's how much it affected me.
Yeah, and then it leans right into that. Listen, once again, if somebody would just leave Whip Morgan by the side of the road, I'd have a fighting chance to have a pretty strong episode here.
What makes the shower scene work, in contrast to many other points in the episode, is what's the obvious thing that you would expect a Brisco episode to do with that? It would be Comet coming in. And they didn't go that way. They went into a different direction. I appreciated that, and it kept the mystery alive, if only for that one scene. My biggest issue with the episode on a whole, and I'll get into details later, is there is no mystery for me, man. Even as a kid, I was so familiar with what Psycho was. It's one of those films that's become part of the public consciousness very strongly, to the point that as soon as you meet the character that ends up being the villain, you know them from the first moment you see them. Now it's up for the rest of the episode to try and make up for the fact that there is no mystery left. And at some points, it succeeds because of its colorful characters, who I'll list out in hilarious fashion later on. But once again, it tries to make up for... I feel like the episode tries to make up for that lost mystery, and it doesn't really work for me. I will point in its favor, using the actual Psycho set for the episode is a pretty freaking cool idea, and it fits perfectly into the Western motif. Love that.
I thought it did too, man. Listen, just to add the creativity, I see the various cuts that they're stealing from the shower scene. I know we've referenced it ad nauseum here at this point, but I think this is important to mention to just show how clever things are here, even though it's been done before. You see the famous shower curtain ring pull down. You know what's happening at this point. And I'm like, well, how are they going to do the coffee?
Yep,
that was more than the cherry on top. That's me looking into the oven, watching the pizza get baked, and seeing that final moment where the cheese melts.
It's like they had the idea for that scene. They're like, the coming thing, a shower scene. We could do Psycho. We can have access to that set. It's in the backlot. Perfect. Let's build an episode around that.
And sometimes it just falls into place. Hey, man.
I don't think it fell into place, but I can see I can almost see how they pieced it together.
Right. And listen, I can make a strong argument. It's not the first time that they have a novel first thing we've seen that we've liked. That's a novel concept where they fit things around a central concept. One doesn't have to travel north by northwest just to see them.
The colorful characters here are interesting. You have the aforementioned foot fetishist funeral fashionista. You have a hypochondriac doctor with photophobia, a sheriff in a full body cast, and a deputy cursed with bad luck. The biggest problem for me, there's no mistaking who the actual killer is from minute one. With this set expectation, due to all the Psycho references, you would think they would have spun something a little bit more clever to subvert that expectation. But for me, the biggest problem is instead it plays out exactly as imagined, robbing the episode of most of its energy and mystery.
I see how that ruined it for you, but where I sit, you kind of bounce against yourself with this single point. And if you were looking for them to change it up, then I see your frustration.
I just want to add this one point.
Go ahead.
And this isn't me coming at it from a film critic's perspective nowadays, right? That's how I felt when I saw it as a kid. Right?
Oh, yeah, I'm not arguing that point, but even as a kid, you're a pretty advanced movie mind too. Even as a 9-year-old, you knew enough to know that what the story of Psycho essentially was and what the twist would be. And listen, that's not your fault that Hitchcock started doing his business decades before you were born. That is not your fault. But and it's a similar situation to when we were actually doing the first Spider-Man movie in the current MCU. You had seen so many spoilers that literally spoiled it for you, whereas I had a much better outlook.
Well, and, in that case, the trailer showed the whole damn movie. I mean, right. Everything. Even him catching the elevator in the Washington Monument. I mean, okay, you just showed me the whole damn scene.
That's great, but it's that experience of that being ruined for you. That is, and I point this out as it's a sensitivity that you have. Not to say that it's bad, not to say that you're incapable of making an unbiased decision. I'm feeling you. But for me, it's where my point of view is different is because I know it's the common theme. And if I see it coming, I'm able to excuse it. It's like seeing The Lion King and claiming it's ripping off William Shakespeare. No, nobody's ripping it off. They're paying an homage, much like this was paying homage to Hitchcock.
Well,
so
maybe I might be able to sum up what you're saying in a better way right here. Okay.
No reason to diss it.
Here's the thing. You probably figured out who it was pretty much off the bat, right?
I did.
So you're saying that you found the episode entertaining enough to overshadow the lack of mystery.
It was meant to be fun, not mysterious. You want mystery? Watch the episode where Judge Frollo was literally the judge.
I don't think it was. I think they did play up the mystery because they played up that angle many times, especially with the Socrates character and the characters constantly being mystified by what's going on. So I can't buy the argument that the episode doesn't care about its mystery. It clearly does. Which
but they overplayed it to overcompensate. You said that too. Again. That's how I get around
the distinct difference between my take and your take, and it's funny, here at the end, we actually have our first somewhat disagreement of Brisco, and I never knew I'd be the one arguing towards the negative, since I'm the one who loves the show so much. I think the difference is, taking into account that the mystery is a weak factor, you felt that everything else in the episode was strong enough for you to have a better time than I did, because I didn't feel like everything else was strong enough to compensate. For me, this episode kind of felt a little, despite a cool setting and some cool ideas and some really fun exchanges and some one or two decent set pieces, I felt it was still very clunky and empty in many spots. Almost anything involving Whip Morgan just felt passe, especially because he's dealing with the most obvious of the mystery aspect.
We've had the Whip Morgan conversation. I'm not piling on.
I'm not, and he's not. He's actually not terrible in this episode. The biggest problem that he has, like I said, is he's saddled up with the most obvious part of the plot. I think that the idea of the motorized horseless carriage that has brushes that gets rid of the track was a very great idea.
Yep.
However, the obvious rope pulling the horseless carriage, as you can see here, kind of takes away from the effect, because it's probably the most obvious special effect I've seen on Brisco County Jr., and this is a series that involves Bruce Campbell riding a rocket behind of a train. So you can't argue against that.
Listen, but I mean, we're back to that same place. You're hitting those particulars. I'm left with how the episode left me feeling, and I had a lot of fun.
That's good. I'm glad, actually, to be.
I'm best.
I'm glad you're default enough to be able to accept the default.
Damn, that's more insulting than you've said on this series before.
It's called Bad Luck Betty, and we haven't talked about Bad Luck Betty.
I mean, listen, this isn't the first time that's happened with the Brisco episode, by the way.
Like, AKA Kansas, because he was barely a fixture in his own episode.
There you go. If you're going to have the character like this, who's been done a bazillion times, and you're just looking to check off every box on the nose, here you did it. Everything else that wasn't her was clever. She was device. That's it. The only best example I can think of is 4 rooms, okay? Yeah, there's 4 different rooms, and there's a hotel, and there's the bellhop. But he's in the movie only from the standpoint that all these things happen to him in all the different rooms. The intrigue is what's going on around the bellhop in question, right? It's one of those where there's a common element, but he's not really, this common element isn't the focal point of the story. What's going on in each part of the story is what's supposed to be found interesting. And again, maybe it's a situation where, because I knew it was a Psycho-esque episode, to use your terminology, I was less worried about the end and had a great experience getting there. I'm leaning, if we did have comments, this is definitely 3.5, but I'm going to tip it to a 4, just on the basis of how it left me feeling.
That's strong. Wow. Bad Luck Betty as a character, easily, it could have been the most annoying thing in here.
Yeah.
And it's a credit to the episode that she's not, and she's actually quite funny and enjoyable in some scenes. It's odd that they titled the episode after her, because she's relatively minor.
Agreed.
It's like naming Star Wars the Chewbacca Hour.
The Chewbacca Chronicles.
The Chewbacca Chronicles.
That's a damn Disney Plus show I want to see.
This is going to be our biggest deviation, because I have to say that as a Brisco fan and as a enormous Hitchcock fan, the only word I can say after watching this episode is eh. It doesn't really strike the chord for me on either of those aspects. I kind of view it as a missed opportunity, especially with the fact that they had access to these amazing sets. And when I walk away from an episode saying the sets were great, that's not exactly the energy I should be walking away from a Brisco County episode with. It didn't really affect me. I'm happy to see that you liked it as much as you did. It just didn't really do much for me. I'm giving it 2 comments.
Fireball!
All I'm saying is it should have at least gotten cheese pizza from you, but I'm not you. I'm much more handsome. So no, I'm kidding.
Well,
I could get away with that because of the Corona hair. Just take.
I got the hat, baby. Anyway.
Hey, the hat's my gig, you son of a bitch.
Oh, see, that's why I don't wear it often, because I'm being kind.
That's right. That's respectful of
this is cheese pizza with light sauce. That's
see, you're making it out to be Little Caesars pizza, and that's not acceptable. I guess I just killed a potential sponsor.
Hey, Little Caesars just came out with a new pizza where they actually put fresh mozzarella on it. I'm wondering how fresh the mozzarella really is. So join us every week as we cover all 27 episodes of The Adventures of Brisco County Jr. We invite you to watch along and let us know in the comments below what your thoughts are on each episode. And make sure to like and subscribe for more fun from Hilarity by Default.